Paul Catalina, Steven Simcox here on the Triple Option. And Steven, Texas A&M is Sans basketball coach right now. And Buzz Williams left them to go to a pretty chaotic situation in Maryland. They're always the bridesmaid and never the bride. Mm-hmm. I think part of it is they have unrealistic expectations of themselves. I don't think they have the right focus where it needs to be. I think they're too obsessed with Texas. But also, like Chris Beard apparently was in deep negotiations with them, according to several, like Pete Thamel, Jeff Goodman, people who would know, and then got what he wanted at Ole Miss and decided not to leave, which I don't think he ever intended to go to A&M. I think A&M is a great person to have a coach opening when you need a raise. And I think he got that from Ole Miss because I don't think he ever intended to go to A&M.
Right, a little negotiating tactic.
Yeah, so, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he thought about it, but I really think that if he really wanted to be at A&M, he could have gotten everything he wanted and moved. So,
has anybody ever coached at Texas, and Texas A&M?
As a head coach, I can't imagine. I'm sure there's some assistant coaches out there.
I know that's a random question, but
yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of assistant coaches who have probably made that little trifecta.
Right.
But a head coach, no.
No way.
No way. I mean, Emory Bellard coached at Texas and A&M. He wasn't a head coach. He was assistant and then a head coach. Dana X Bible was Texas and Texas A&M. But I don't think anybody was I don't know. I mean, maybe there's someone, but
the Texas A&M thing, I think the unrealistic expectations are part of it. But every fan base has that to a certain extent. I feel like it's a combination of unrealistic expectations, and I don't want to say a lack of commitment because I think people there want to win. Like, obviously, they are trying to fund it, right? I mean, they're not, sitting on the sidelines. But nobody has won in a national championship way in a major sport there in such a long time. I just wonder if coaches look at it and say, well.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com.
At least at LSU, yeah, I know if I have a bad year, everybody's going to want me fired, but at least there's a track record there of people reaching the mountaintop, right? Like at Alabama or at Texas or at other places in the SEC, there's unrealistic expectations, there's a ton of pressure, but there's actual sustained success that I can point to and say, hey, I can do that here.
Yeah.
And it feels like A&M, there's a weird tension with that.
They're a stepping stone job for most things. Mm-hmm. Or they're they're a place you go and you think this is it. I'm going to make this the big time. And then after that, your professional opinion of you changes. You know?
Yeah, and buzz was such a weird thing. I mean, I know, just looking at reaction the last few days, I know a lot of A&M fans are sort of good riddance, which is pretty typical of coach leaving.
I think that he certainly made the program better, but he was getting paid good money. Mm-hmm. And I just think they were well,
he's a round of 32 guy, right? He's a first weekend guy. But to go to Maryland, I mean, as you said, that's a chaotic situation. They're far removed from the Gary Williams era. They're not in the ACC anymore. I mean, that's not a powerhouse basketball job anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's just so interesting that he made that lateral move himself. But yeah, I mean, A&M baseball team's struggling in a big way right now. They just lose their basketball coach. We'll see what happens with Mike Elko. It just feels like they're always sort of on a roller coaster. And I don't think the lack of continuity there doesn't help either. With administration, I mean, they've changed athletic directors recently. They've changed presidents. They've had a lot of head coaching changes. So there's always some unrest there, Paul. It doesn't feel like a university where there's a lot of, kind of standard tentpole people carrying the flag each and every year.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate they have everything you need and want. Mm-hmm. Could ever. They don't want for anything financially. The worst thing you can say about them is College Station is kind of, it's not remote, but it's it's the only thing within an hour of it in any direction, right? Bryan College Station. Like, in any direction, like, you're an hour away from anything, Houston or Waco or whatever, an hour or so away. An hour, like, they're in a nice little central location. They're like 90 miles from Austin, like 90 miles from Houston, they're 90 miles from Waco. Yeah, but, like, that's the worst thing you can say about it. Like, that's most college towns, right? And that's what it was. It was a true college town for a very, very, it was just that. Like, before there was a mall there, like, Bryan was the town and College Station was the college.
Right.
Like, that's what it was. So, I don't know. Like, I just don't know how they feel to me a little bit like the Mavericks used to be when they were trying to find
free agents.
A running buddy for Dirk. Like, all these people, like, yeah, I'd love to come play with Dirk. And they would come to Dallas. They hang out with Mark Cuban. They would, like, float some stuff out. Like, oh, really? There's not the state income tax here. Wow, that's awesome. The Orlando Magic suffered this a little bit too. Like, where they're like, oh, yeah, that's great. No, I could be here and I could, like, this could be my team, the Orlando Magic. Oh, great. And then the Lakers are like, well, how about $5 million more dollars? And then they're like, oh, yeah, I mean, that's all I really wanted in the first place.
Yeah, the Mavericks.
Chandler Parsons had, like, spent the night at his house.
Oh, my gosh. Chandler Parsons. They had the DeAndre Jordan debacle.
Oh, DeAndre Jordan. Chandler Parsons went and
yes, Chandler signed, and DeAndre did too, or he didn't sign, but he had committed, and then Doc Rivers basically held him hostage in Houston.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they were always third on somebody's list. I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day. We should have known the writing was on the wall when the Mavs made a big push for Darren Williams and lost him to the Nets. And that, I mean, this was, in fairness, this was peak Darren Williams. Like, this was at, the peak of his career, but still, I mean, it's Darren Williams. Like, if you're striking out there, maybe you should take a hint. But
the state income tax isn't a big deal.
Right.
Like, it's not like, to me, it's not that big of a deal. Like, everybody says that. But then, like, okay, if that was a big deal, then they would get, like, that would be a real draw. But you make so much money, I promise you most of NBA players have no idea how much they're paying in taxes.
No way. And I'll tell you where they get you in our state. God bless. Property taxes.
Property taxes.
They get a get back.
Yeah, no. It's one of those things. That's the other thing they say. Like, oh, hey, that big house you're going to build in Highland Park? Like, there's no state income taxes, but boy, the property taxes on that sucker. Oh, they're coming for you.
Yep. Get ready to just give one of your checks to the Highland Park School District.
Yeah. I mean, so, you're going to build this house up in Prosper or, Frisco, like wherever you're going to be. And, man, there's no state income tax, but you get that property tax bill, and you're like, oh, this is why my mortgage is so high. This right here. Yeah. No. I remember, like, a couple years ago, like, opening up my mortgage statement for, like, in January, and it was, like, up. And I was like, what? I was like, no, it's been this much for 4 years or 5 years. It was just up. And so I, like, looked, and I was about to call them and, like, hey, listen, guys.
This isn't DirecTV. You can't just upcharge me.
I was like, hey, I was going to call up and be like, hey, I'm a little confused. Like, did I not read something like, oh, by the way, in the 7th year of your mortgage, we're going to sneak something in.
Still kickback.
You, as you know, that's what you do for a living. Doesn't work like that.
Don't work like that.
But, again, my first house, I was like, did I miss something in a fine print? And then I just looked at it and I was like, oh, well, why are my taxes higher? Then it started me on like going down the, Texas state government rabbit hole of like, oh yeah, there was a hike here and, your school district got assessed here. I'm like, oh, these kids can barely read. What are we doing?
What do they need?
Yeah, hold on. Yeah. Now I got to be like one of those things where you shouldn't like, well, I don't have any kids. Why am I paying for the schools? I mean,
that's a fair argument, yeah.
I should get to pick the taxes I pay, much like streaming services.
Yeah, I'll skim on the school
health
tax.
Insurance, medical, like Social Security, like all those things can benefit me. But until I have a kid, I'm not paying for you. Yeah. I'm not paying for your kids to learn the alphabet.
Yeah, how bad do you need these new textbooks?
Yeah, you come to me and make the pitch. You or their 3 little kids, or they're not even school age yet. Come to me when they need it. That's how I thought for a second, which is dumb. It's dumb, but losing money makes you dumb.
It sure does.
It really does. Like, you lose money. You didn't do anything. I didn't do anything to lose that money.
No, you didn't.
Nothing changed about my house.
Your house probably deteriorated a little bit, honestly.
Look, it's older and it's worth more now.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
I don't either.
Yeah. I don't It's worth more, but I may not be able to sell it. I don't, why? It's not right. Yeah. I don't get it.